When billionaire Marcus Kane offered me $10,000 to pretend to be his ex-girlfriend at a family dinner, I thought it was easy money. I had no idea that 3 years ago he'd already fallen in love with me, and I'd completely forgotten meeting him. This is karma at its finest. Before we dive into this insane story, smash that like button if you love stories about karma and unexpected romance. And don't forget to subscribe because trust me, you won't want to miss how this unfolds. My name is Emma, and 3 months ago I was drowning. Not literally, but financially, emotionally, and in every way that mattered. At 24, I was supposed to have my life figured out, but instead I was juggling 3 jobs just to keep my head above water. Art school debt, rent in the city, and my mom's mounting medical bills were crushing me slowly day by day. I was working my usual shift at Café Luna, this trendy little coffee shop downtown where rich people came to feel bohemian for 20 minutes. My hands were stained with paint from my morning art class, my uniform wrinkled from rushing between jobs, and I was running on maybe 3 hours of sleep. Just another Tuesday in my chaotic life. That's when he walked in. Marcus Kane. I didn't know who he was then, but I could tell he had money. Designer suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent, perfectly styled dark hair, and this confident way of moving that screamed wealth. He ordered a simple black coffee and sat in the corner booth, typing on his laptop like he owned the place. I was wiping down tables when he approached me. "Excuse me," he said, and his voice had this smooth, authoritative tone that made me look up immediately. "This might sound crazy, but I have a proposition for you." My first thought was that he was some kind of creep, and I was already mentally preparing my rejection speech. But then he said something that stopped me cold. "I'll pay you $10,000 for one evening of your time." $10,000. The number hit me like a physical blow. That was more money than I'd seen in my entire life. That was my mom's next 3 months of treatment. That was my rent for the rest of the year. That was freedom from the constant, gnawing anxiety that kept me awake at night. But I'm not stupid. "What kind of evening are we talking about?" I asked, crossing my arms and trying to look tougher than I felt. He must have seen the suspicion in my eyes because he quickly raised his hands. "Nothing inappropriate, I promise. I need someone to pretend to be my ex-girlfriend at my grandmother's 90th birthday dinner. Just one night, a few hours, and then we never see each other again." I stared at him like he'd just spoken in another language. "You want to pay me $10,000 to pretend to be your ex-girlfriend? Are you insane?" Marcus ran a hand through his hair, and for the first time he looked vulnerable. "My family has been pressuring me about settling down for years. Every family gathering, every phone call, it's the same questions. When are you getting married? Why don't you bring someone home?" So I told them I had a serious girlfriend named Rebecca. The pieces started clicking together, but it still sounded completely insane. "Okay, so why don't you just bring your actual girlfriend?" "Because there is no girlfriend," he admitted, his cheeks actually turning red. "I made her up to get them off my back, and now it's spiraled completely out of control. My grandmother is dying, and she wants to meet Rebecca before she passes away. She's planned this whole birthday dinner around meeting the woman she thinks I'm going to marry." I felt a pang of sympathy despite myself. "So tell them the truth." "I can't." His voice was desperate now. "My grandmother has been sick for months, and this dinner is the one thing she's looking forward to. I can't disappoint her in what might be her final weeks. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm desperate. I've tried to find someone through dating apps, friends, anyone, but I need someone who can really pull this off." That's when he looked directly at me, and something in his expression made my heart skip. "You're perfect for this. You have this natural, authentic quality that my family would love. Please, I'm begging you." $10,000. My mom's medical bills. My crushing debt. My chance to breathe again. Why should I trust you? This could be some elaborate scheme. Marcus pulled out his phone and showed me his driver's license, his business cards, even pulled up news articles about his company. Marcus Kane, CEO of Kane Industries, net worth in the hundreds of millions. He was legitimate and he was desperate. One night, I said slowly, just dinner with your family, pretend to be Rebecca, and then it's over? One night. I'll have a car pick you up, provide everything you need to wear, coach you on the backstory, and afterward, you never have to see me again. I thought about my mom in that hospital bed, about the stack of bills on my kitchen counter, about the constant stress that was eating me alive. Okay, I heard myself say, I'll do it. The next few days were a whirlwind that felt like stepping into someone else's life. Marcus had his assistant send me to high-end boutiques where I tried on dresses that cost more than my car. We settled on an elegant navy blue dress that made me look sophisticated and expensive. He bought me jewelry that sparkled under the lights, shoes that made me 3 inches taller, and a clutch purse that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. But the clothes were the easy part. The hard part was becoming Rebecca. We met at his penthouse apartment to go over the story, and I have to admit I was intimidated. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, modern art on the walls, furniture that looked like it belonged in a magazine. This was how the other half lived, and I felt completely out of place. Rebecca is a marketing executive at a boutique firm, Marcus explained, handing me a thick folder. She's 26, grew up in Connecticut, went to Yale. She loves classical music, particularly Mozart, and she has a sophisticated palate for wine. I flipped through the pages trying to memorize details that felt nothing like my actual life. This is incredibly detailed. How long did it take you to create all this? A while, he said, not meeting my eyes. I wanted it to be believable. What struck me as odd was how specific some of the details were. Rebecca apparently loved art galleries, particularly contemporary pieces. She drank her coffee with oat milk and a dash of cinnamon. She had a habit of tucking her hair behind her left ear when she was nervous. These weren't generic girlfriend details. They felt personal, specific, real. How do you know I can pull off loving classical music? I asked. What if they start asking detailed questions? You'll be fine, Marcus said, and there was something in his voice, a confidence that seemed based on more than just hope. I have a feeling you'll fit in perfectly. During our coaching sessions, I noticed Marcus watching me intently, not just to make sure I was learning the role, but like he was studying me. When I laughed at something he said, he got this strange expression on his face. When I absently tucked my hair behind my ear while reading Rebecca's biography, he went completely still. Are you okay? I asked during one of these moments. Fine, he said quickly. Just making sure you're comfortable with everything. But I was starting to feel like there was something he wasn't telling me. The way he'd crafted Rebecca's personality, the specific details, the confidence that I'd be perfect for this role. It all felt too convenient, too planned. Still, $10,000 was $10,000, and I pushed my doubts aside. In 2 days, I would walk into the Kane family mansion, spend a few hours pretending to be someone I wasn't, and walk away with enough money to change my life. I had no idea that I was walking into a trap 3 years in the making, or that the man sitting across from me had been searching for me all this time. I had no idea that Rebecca was never just a fictional character. She was me. The me he remembered from a night I'd completely forgotten. But karma has a funny way of revealing the truth, and I was about to learn that some lies are built on foundations of love so deep, they feel more real than reality itself. The night of the dinner, Marcus's driver picked me up in a sleek black car that probably cost more than my college education. As we pulled through the iron gates of the Kane estate, I felt my stomach drop. This wasn't just a house. It was a mansion that belonged in movies, with perfectly manicured gardens, fountains, and windows that glowed like something out of a fairy tale. "You've got this," I whispered to myself, smoothing down my navy dress. But walking up those marble steps, I felt like a fraud in designer clothes, an art student playing dress-up in a world where I clearly didn't belong. Marcus met me at the door, and I barely recognized him. Gone was the slightly desperate man from the coffee shop. This version of Marcus was polished, confident, every inch the billionaire air. "You look perfect," he said, offering his arm, and something in his voice made my cheeks warm. Then I met his family, and everything I worried about melted away. His parents, Richard and Catherine, welcomed me with genuine warmth. His sister Sarah hugged me like we were old friends. But it was his grandmother Eleanor who truly captivated me. 90 years old with sharp blue eyes and a smile that lit up the room, she took my hands in her weathered ones and said, "So you're the famous Rebecca. Marcus has told us so much about you." The strangest thing was how natural it felt. Maybe it was the detailed backstory Marcus had created, or maybe I was a better actress than I thought, but I slipped into Rebecca's skin effortlessly. I discussed marketing campaigns with his father, complimented his mother's garden, and found myself genuinely laughing at his sister's stories. But as the evening progressed, I started noticing things that made my skin prickle with unease. Marcus kept staring at me with this intense expression, like he was seeing a ghost. When I absently tucked my hair behind my ear, he went completely still. When I laughed at something Eleanor said, he got that same strange look I'd noticed during our coaching sessions. Then there were the family's comments. "She's exactly how you described her 3 years ago," Sarah said, squeezing my arm. Eleanor nodded approvingly and added, "You two have such natural chemistry, just like Marcus always said you would." 3 years ago? Natural chemistry? I felt confusion creeping up my spine like ice water, but I couldn't break character now. During dinner, Eleanor began sharing stories about Marcus's childhood, and then she said something that made my blood freeze. "Marcus has been talking about Rebecca for years, you know, ever since he met you at that art gallery opening." Art gallery opening. The words hit me like a slap. I'd never been to an art gallery opening in my life. I was a broke art student who could barely afford supplies, let alone attend fancy gallery events. I caught Marcus's eye across the table, and the panic I saw there confirmed my worst fears. Something was very, very wrong. "Oh, that gallery opening," I said weakly, trying to keep my voice steady. "That feels like a lifetime ago." Marcus quickly changed the subject, steering the conversation toward his grandmother's birthday, but the damage was done. My mind was spinning with questions I couldn't ask, doubts I couldn't voice, and a growing certainty that I was trapped in something much bigger than a simple family dinner deception. After dinner, Eleanor asked if I'd like to see Marcus's old art studio in the garden. "He's quite talented," she said with pride, "though he's been painting the same subject for years now." The studio was a converted greenhouse filled with easels, canvases, and the smell of oil paint. But what I saw there made my heart stop completely. Dozens of paintings lined the walls, and every single one was of the same woman. The same face, the same smile, the same eyes looking back at me from canvas after canvas. They were all of me. "He's been painting the same girl for 3 years," Eleanor said softly, watching my reaction. "Ever since he met her at that gallery. He said she was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen inside and out." My hands were shaking as I stared at painting after painting of my own face. Some laughing, some thoughtful, all capturing expressions I didn't even realize I made. This wasn't about Rebecca, the fictional marketing executive. This was about me, Emma, the real me that Marcus somehow knew intimately enough to paint from memory. I don't understand, I whispered, though the truth was starting to crash over me like a tidal wave. Eleanor smiled sadly. That boy has been searching for you for 3 years, dear. He lost your contact information that night and has been kicking himself ever since. That night? What night? My mind was racing, trying to remember, trying to piece together fragments of a memory I'd apparently buried. Art gallery. 3 years ago. A man who spilled wine on his shirt. Oh my God. The memory came flooding back in pieces. I had worked a catering job at a gallery opening 3 years ago. There was a man, handsome and kind, who'd spilled red wine on his white shirt. I'd helped him clean it up, and we'd talked for hours about art, life, dreams. He was funny and genuine. Nothing like the wealthy people I usually served at these events. We'd connected in a way that felt magical, rare, real. But I'd been too shy to give him my real number when he asked, too intimidated by the obvious wealth gap between us. I'd given him a fake number and spent weeks regretting it, wondering what might have been. That man was Marcus Kane. The cruel irony of it all hit me like a physical blow. While I'd completely forgotten about him, moving on with my chaotic life, he'd been carrying our conversation with him for 3 years. He'd been painting my face from memory, searching for a girl who'd given him a fake number, because she was too scared to believe someone like him could want someone like me. I stumbled back from the paintings, my chest tight with emotions I couldn't name. Eleanor reached out to steady me, her eyes full of understanding. He never forgot you, dear. Not for a single day. Back in the house, I couldn't focus on anything. Every time Marcus looked at me, I saw it now. Not the satisfaction of a successful deception, but the desperate hope of a man who'd found something precious he thought he'd lost forever. When he complimented my dress, I realized he was complimenting me, Emma, not Rebecca the character. When he seemed to anticipate my reactions, it was because he'd spent 3 years memorizing every detail of our one perfect conversation. The breaking point came when I overheard Marcus's sister talking to their mother in the hallway. I can't believe he actually found her, Sarah was saying. He's been obsessed with some girl from the gallery for years. Mom, you should see his sketchbooks, page after page of the same face. I just hope she remembers him, Catherine replied. It would break his heart if she didn't. That's when the full weight of what was happening crushed me. This wasn't a business transaction. This wasn't even really about deceiving his family. Marcus had orchestrated this entire evening because he'd been searching for me for 3 years. And when he finally found me serving coffee in that cafe, he was too afraid I wouldn't remember him to just tell me the truth. I couldn't take it anymore. I found Marcus alone on the terrace, staring out at the garden where his paintings of me were hidden like secrets in the darkness. We need to talk, I said, my voice shaking with a mixture of anger and heartbreak. He turned around, and the guilt written all over his face confirmed everything. Emma, don't you dare call me Rebecca, I snapped. 3 years, Marcus. You've been looking for me for 3 years, and when you finally found me, you decided to lie to me instead of just telling me the truth. His shoulders sagged in defeat. You gave me a fake number that night. I thought you didn't want to see me again. So you hired me to pretend to be your fictional girlfriend? Do you realize how manipulative that is? Tears were streaming down my face now, ruining the expensive makeup that had transformed me into someone I wasn't. I know how it sounds, he said desperately, but I was running out of time. My grandmother really is sick, and when I saw you in that coffee shop, it felt like fate. I thought if we spent time together, maybe you'd remember me, maybe we could have a real chance. A real chance built on lies? I laughed bitterly. You made me fall for a fantasy, Marcus. This whole evening, this whole family, Rebecca's entire existence. It's all built on deception. That's when Eleanor appeared in the doorway, and what she said next changed everything. Actually, dear, she said with a knowing smile, I should probably confess something too. I'm not actually dying.